Hey everyone, welcome back to OC Recovery's YouTube channel. I am back out front. I really like the setting of these videos. I think Rob does too. Sometimes I'm in my office and I'm just like, okay, I want to change up the scenery. Today I want to talk about a really important topic, a topic that is pretty much going to be some of the hardest truth that a lot of OCD sufferers just don't want to accept. And I'm going to have to make sure I explain it very carefully because a lot of people will go, well, you're saying I can't go into a career that has research or a career like a doctor. That's not what I'm saying. So the first thing to understand about OCD is that OCD sufferers are obsessed with looking for certainty, obsessed with feeling certainty, because certainty brings a feeling of an illusion of safety, where even something as driving down the road where you believe you're safe, someone could just plow through an intersection and hit you and kill you. So you're just not as safe as you think you are. It's important to realize that because that's one of the most important ways to break down perspectives. Now, when it comes down to OCD sufferers having a dire need for certainty, that comes in the form of looking for way too much information about OCD from a literature standpoint. First of all, it's important to cover that research is made for providers. It's not made for the gen pop. The lingo they use is for providers to speak about. So what happens is people hear words like in pain science, such as degeneration or spondylosis or anything like that, and they get very scared. Understanding that that lingo is not made for you is an important part of that. What you have is you are a person who's scared of something, and you have to break that down with exposures when necessary, time and patience, primarily looking for moving with uncertainty, and then obviously breaking down the worst case scenario and moving towards it and realizing that agreement doesn't mean acceptance. Now, because we have teetered over into a world where there's way too much information, we are definitely moving, in my opinion, in the wrong direction in many different ways, which is how human nature works. We kind of go from this to this, and then things get really bad, and then we kind of might balance back with homeostasis. That's kind of how the world's been working for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But this is the first time we're seeing this in a research perspective, in a knowledge perspective, where people are living their entire lives based off of the idea that they're going to live forever, off the idea that they can perfect their health. And then what happens is they die and they never live. They never live in the context of a philosophical sense. They just exist. And they never live, and they never travel, and they never do things, and they never put themselves in hard situations. They never go out there and do things they wouldn't have done otherwise. They don't start that business. They don't go out and try to meet a new lover. They don't travel to countries by themselves based on societal beliefs and dogmas. Once you start to realize that the majority of the way that humans are living, because we are herd creatures, most humans are trapped, heavily trapped. And I don't mean physically trapped like a jail cell, but it is in its own sense a philosophical jail cell. They don't do things to where they could potentially feel discomfort. They're trying way too hard, like with the perfection, right? Trying to understand everything about the brain, the prefrontal cortex, neuroplasticity, all that stuff. Let's see real quick. Okay. Oh, there we go. Woo! And all that, which is really holding people back. Sorry, I thought I heard something. And that's a big, big, big problem. Sleep is another one. A lot of people think we're saying that sleep isn't important. We're saying that sleep is important. Obviously, sleep is very important. It's just not as important as most people say. If there was no internet, then you wouldn't care about sleep. People in factories 100 years ago didn't give a flying fuck about sleep. Yeah, but they did it. Yeah, but you're looking for perfection. Accept the time frame we're living in, and then go from there. I was on the one-to-one call this morning with someone. We were talking about nutrition, and we were saying, we were joking, we were laughing really hard. And I know because I was really trapped in that desperate search. Now, it's important to realize there's nothing wrong with research, and there's nothing wrong with looking for research. Most people are not looking for research because they want to look for research. They're looking for research for a couple reasons: to prove people wrong and to show how smart they are, and look for that conditional self-acceptance. So let's look at someone who's looking for nutritional research. And then what tends to happen? It's simple. Eat a little bit less than your calorie maintenance. Balance your eating. No foods are inherently good or bad. And go from there. That's really all of the research summed up. We don't need to know anything more than that. The other one about exercise is balance your exercise and lift how you want. That's it. every single research article on exercise physiology, in my opinion, is a means to its end, where we don't need to know it. That doesn't mean you can't be passionate about it. I'm super passionate about it. But what I realized was it was not for the right reasons, which I see in more people than not. Are there people out there that have a dire passion for research and they don't care if anyone listens or not? Sure. Is that common? Absolutely not. Not even close. That's in all literature perspectives. Humans, again, are obsessed with credentials and obsessed with people wanting to know that they're correct. They must know I know everything. You see it by the way people walk in the gym, the way they look in the mirror. Again, nothing wrong with having muscle, nothing wrong with being well researched, nothing wrong with having a doctorate degree. But that's it. You're just a person with a doctorate degree. You're not some high and mighty person, some righteous person that most people make it out to be. So what happens is all this knowledge and all this literature is becoming so detrimental to the human condition in all philosophical sense. Life is fairly simple. You're here, someday you're not here, that's in the future, and you're here to potentially have fun, potentially give meaning to other people, man search for meaning, and there's many different perspectives we can go from. But I don't think we're here to and I don't mean this in an OCD sense, I mean the way that people just practically live their lives. We're not here in a sense to be highly obsessed with never dying. I ponder on this question all the time. If you told me right now I was going to die at 40, so in 7 years from now, which I could die tomorrow, and I could do the things I want to do, or live till 90 and be very cautious, I would pick 40 every single time. And I would go more than likely in peace. I'm pretty sure about that, because I've worked on death fears a lot. But every once in a while, it kind of creeps in when I think about my dad or stuff like that. But overall, I'm in a pretty good spot with that. Really good, actually. So it's important to realize that this is what happens when we have all this information. The sleep hygiene routines are great. I use a couple of them. I don't have central AC in this house. So like the upstairs in the summer here gets up to like 88 degrees. And I have a fan and I don't sleep that well. I haven't slept that well. I've maybe had one good night of sleep in the last 3 months. My dogs wake me up all the time, constantly the piss. Milo is eating carpet, throwing up. Milo, why are you eating carpet? It's just like we forget. What about the pregnant mother who had twins? She's not sleeping. You know, we just think in our minds as OCD sufferers, we're like, I need to know I'm going to be safe. You don't need to know. Safety is a major illusion. There is no such thing as universal safety. People die in weird ways. People die all the time. And people die young. And there's no deservingness and no fairness from a universal perspective. These are the main principles to break down rational thinking. So understanding the practicality, which I did a video on 3 weeks ago, it's titled How OCD Works. I highly recommend going back and watching that. Is a great video for realizing that understanding the practical application of how OCD works, understanding that OCD will go 0 to 100 with urges, understanding that intrusive thoughts will come and go, images, sensation, all of that, anywhere, any place. Understanding your worst case scenario is where your recovery lies. It's not in exposures anymore. I made a post the other day and I got a lot of good feedback on that, and I said, exposures are no longer the gold standard, whether anyone wants to say it. If they were the gold standard, then everyone would do exposures and recover, and I've never seen a case ever. They are super beneficial to help breaking down behavioral changes instill perspectives, but if you're still scared of your worst case scenario, you'll need to go into it with rational perspectives from the Ellis teachings. And that is key. Acceptance is the new gold standard. We know it. It doesn't matter what the literature shows. Perspective, what we see, anecdotes are too strong. People are coming in and they're recovering in a couple years and they're making tremendous progress. Doesn't mean they're chronically suffering for a couple of years, but you know, it takes a while to bring down those fear perspectives and everything like that. I think there's a B on me. I'm like Jade now. I'm trying to get this thing. I'm gonna Muhammad Ali at boxing. I also realized I could see my new tattoo on my, let's not go Jersey, okay? Let's go up here. If it goes too low, I turn to Nikki, New Jersey from 2011 when I used to work with the Jersey Shore. And that's a funny time period in my life. And that's what I want to talk about today. That, you know, we are way teetering in the realm of way too much information. And it is just not good. Is it going to progress that way forever, in my opinion? Probably, until something probably Maybe catastrophic happens. Who knows? But I don't think we need any more research on many things. We're arguing over little things. We're arguing over the most minuscule neuroplasticity details in sleep. We're arguing over how much certain one little vitamin we need. Is it 7.2 grams or is it 7.4 grams? It breeds perfectionism. That's just the reality of the world we live in. Once you look, this is what I'm going to leave you with. If you struggle with alcoholism, one of the biggest things you have to accept is that you struggle with alcoholism and other people don't. That's all addictions. If that's not covered, the person's going to have a little bit hard time recovering. Been around addiction my entire life. Struggle with it myself, have a lot of friends. The same thing is about OCD. If you don't accept that you are a certainty seeker by design, well, not by design, but that's what the nature of OCD does, it is very difficult to pull away from the desperate search on sleep research, on nutrition research, on exercise research, on the universe research, on this research. Again, and research is great, but if you're doing it looking for that certainty and relief, there is a major problem. And it's subtle, and I can catch it quick. I can tell when I'm working with someone right away if they're looking for it. I can tell if they don't want to drop the books. I don't mean the books on the reading list. I mean the desperate search for some sort of... Sleep is just the easiest one to use because we're so obsessed with sleep nowadays. I would be amazed if they never did another sleep research again, ever. Drop it all. No more sleep research needed. It's done with. If you sleep, you sleep. If you don't, you don't. The end, you're a little tired. Sure, you might die 10 years earlier from a neurological disease. We're all going out anyway. You're not going to live forever. Break that down. Realize the difference between existing versus living, and eventually lead yourself to OCD recovery. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you're interested in any of the webinars coming up, we have a bunch of good ones. POCD, ROCD, existential, anxiety-related work. Email phil@ocdrecovery.com, and then we'll go from there. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.